the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning. A year ago right now, we were focusing on the criminal indictments arrayed against then-candidate Donald Trump. Today, one by one, most of those have fallen away or rendered moot, or they soon will be, as President-elect Trump gets ready to take the oath of office as president once more. The classified documents case, centered largely at Mar-a-Lago, dropped. The January 6th case against him, dropped. My guest, Stuart Kaplan, longtime criminal defense lawyer, noted lawyer in our region, and a former FBI agent, a frequent guest of ours, both on breaking news and for perspective like what you will offer today. You were part of an hour-long broadcast we put together last year as we looked at what we thought would be the pending cases. As we sit here a year later at the intersection of politics, of the law, where we head, your thoughts?
You know, Mike, I think the United States has paid a heavy price this year. Certainly this year, and maybe even in the course of several years, with such an erosion of public trust in our most important institutions, such as the Supreme Court, the Department of Justice, specifically the Attorney General's office, and something close and dear to me, the FBI. And I think when you see the erosion that, quite frankly, many people don't trust our government agencies, which in the past have been historically beyond reproach, I think when we look back in history and we look at this targeted attempt to really stifle and take out someone who is running for public office, whether right or wrong, I think we have paid a very heavy price. And I think the bigger question is, where will we be years from now, and can we restore the public's confidence, such as in the FBI?
We'll talk a little more about the FBI in a moment. You have cited before to me in an Attorney General guidebook, and you've quoted it often and said it does matter. And critics have said, well, nobody's above the law, and that they had to look at something beyond the pure letter of the law. But in the AG guidebook, section 9.85.5, federal prosecutors and agents may never select the timing of any action, including investigative steps, criminal charges, or statements for the purpose of affecting any election or the purpose of giving advantage or disadvantage to any candidate or political party. And you've talked about that a lot, and that's what you are concerned happened in the lead up to the 2024 election.
And that is correct. And you know, Mike, my career first started in New York, and New York is notorious for having some of the most high-profile public corruption cases. And we were always schooled and cautioned about potentially impacting the trajectory of a political candidate or an ongoing potential future election. And in this particular case, with respect to now the president-elect Donald Trump, when you look at back in the last year when he was running to become the next president, certainly I think anybody should be able to formulate or come to the same conclusion that all of these things, to include subpoenas, the execution of search warrants such as at Mar-a-Lago, these indictments, certainly they impacted many of us with respect to whose candidate we ultimately were going to vote for. And my concern is this flew in the face of what has been on the books for many years with the Attorney General.
Question, were the cases in your mind illegitimate, or merely the timing of pressing the charges, i.e. the statute and the timing? Because there is a big difference between that.
So when you look at the facts and you look at the evidence, certainly no one is beyond or above the law. I will always admit that no person, whether he's the President of the United States or anybody, is above the law. But I think you always have to be able to peel back or pull the curtain down and look at the real, is there malicious intent? Is there prosecutorial misconduct in targeting someone? And for example, when you look at someone who says, I'm campaigning, and if you put me into office, I'm going to target Donald Trump, that in and of itself may disqualify going after someone.
There was a point where, for the everyday person, this boiled down to when classified documents were found at the property of President Biden from his vice presidency, and no charges ultimately filed. It was argued that he would, and it created great criticism itself. He's elderly, his memory of the events won't be great. But a lot of people said, aha, you see, they're not going to deal with that and those classified documents, but they will deal with it and charges against then candidate Donald Trump. Many people in the everyday world who don't read law books said, you see, Do you agree with that?
100%. In fact, Michael, I was on your program and I talked about two tiers of justice. And for the Bidens, he got a pass, and for Donald Trump, he ended up being indicted. That in and of itself created such a discourse, and again, a perfect example of why the public's trust is not where it should be in trusting the United States Attorney's Office or the FBI.
I want you to hear a contrary point of view. You were a big part of the hour-long program we put together last year ahead of what we thought would be the Mar-a-Lago case and classified documents. Another person who was part of that, Nova Southeastern history and politics professor Charles Zeldin. Take a listen.
I say that politicians can break the law as much as anybody else. And when politicians take actions that are against the statutes, we need government to take action in the same way that we would need it if the Democrats also step beyond the scope of the law. We can't hold our I disagree completely with the Supreme Court. We cannot hold our politicians above the law. I'm not sure that we weaponize prosecution. I think these were legitimate charges that were brought against him. But it does go to show that the American public wasn't concerned with these challenges, wasn't concerned with these charges. They want what Trump was offering, which is a return to a glory age of American politics, of American government, of American society. Whether he'll get that or not, whether we'll get there or not is another matter. But this is what we're searching for. We wanted something different.
Your thoughts, given all of the last year, what has happened, and all of what we'll have to see play out in 2025 and beyond. Final reflections.
I think we're in for an interesting ride, where interesting is understood to mean troubled.
How so?
I think the choices that we made are going to result in wrenching change in American government, in American society, in American politics. And wrenching change is uncomfortable. It may be exactly what we need. I'm not arguing that it's a bad choice. I'm arguing that it is going to be an uncomfortable choice for the American public, and we should hang on and get ready to be on a roller coaster for the next 4 years.
Point, counterpoint. Your reaction, Stuart Kaplan.
You know, again, I agree that no politician is above the law, but when Donald Trump threw his hat in the ring to become the next president of the United States, the 47th president of the United States, he was afforded, or should have been afforded, or was cloaked with certain protections during that period of time, as you
laid
and I
out
have this.
Exactly. Guidebook.
Exactly. And you cannot weaponize the FBI to then do the dirty work of his adversaries. That's where I cross the line. And when we talk about the justice system as to being balanced, and when we look at the Lady of Justice, the reason why she is blindfolded is she should not be targeting a person because of their political candidacy. That's where I see it going rogue here.
You're a proud former FBI agent, still many friends in the FBI. Kash Patel, the FBI nominee. The president-elect says he's what the FBI needs. His supporters say you need to clean the place root and branch. His detractors say he will be bad for the national intelligence community. He's going to disrupt the hard work that everyday FBI agents, men and women, do. Your thoughts?
So I'm going to say, so the men and women on the street, each and every day, that get up and go to work and keep you and I safe, they're beyond reproach. Unfortunately, perhaps left too long to fester, and it started when then Director Comey was there, who really, for the first time, changed the way the Bureau operated, not only from what the public saw, but even behind the curtain. I think there needs to be a cleansing, a full house cleaning. I think Kash Patel is the right person. It may be short-lived, but I think initially, we need him to come in. I've equated it as, I called it a bulldozer effect of coming in and clearing the top brass. They now use it as a wrecking ball. Either way, we need a little bit of a new jump start.
Will we remain as safe on the streets for the work that rank and file will be able to do, or will it be so disruptive in your estimation, or in the concern or in fairness, lack therein that some of your friends at the FBI have about where we'll be about the important day-to-day work they're able to do?
The fortunate thing is the people that I communicate with each and every day, the men and women who get up, they are absolutely dedicated. Their dedication is unwavering. They're going to do what they need to do to keep you and I safe. Yes, is there a potential for a distraction? Absolutely. But again, that is something that unfortunately has been brought about, in my opinion, by the current administration. Donald J. Trump, the president-elect, he needs to come in with an iron fist and turn this agency around.
The point, counterpoint, debate, counter-debate will go on and on about all of this. But a final closing thought. We only have about 40 seconds left about why it's important that we're all engaged in the kind of discussion we're having now.
We should all be engaged because at the end of the day, we shouldn't have the Supreme Court of the United States leaking rulings, court decisions. We shouldn't have the FBI being utilized or weaponized or politicalized. I think that our society needs to come back together. We're so divisive. But the biggest concern I have is that we should not have an erosion of not being able to trust the men and women or the institutions that are there to protect our civil liberties and to protect all of us, to include our elected officials.
Stuart Kaplan, you've always been such a thoughtful voice for us, and as it happens, you are our final voice on To The Point. This is our farewell edition. It's always been a pleasure having you aboard. We'll still be catching up to you on plenty of other venues.
Absolutely. Michael Williams, it has been my pleasure. Well, thank you, sir.
The honor and pleasure is ours. On next to that farewell from To The Point, our final edition, as I said, Brian Crowley and a special guest coming up.